Let's start off with the Angels, and I got to go with Taylor Ward. He's having a solid season, posting a 797 OPS overall, but over a 900 OPS against lefties. Now, he still has over a year of control left until he gets to free agency, but moving him would create a way for Mike Trout to get back to the outfield, and Ward's value can help bring back some much-needed pitching for the organization. The Astros are in an interesting spot right now because Isaac Paredes went down with a hamstring injury, and they could have used a bat even before that. And on the other hand, they have one of the lowest ranked farm systems in all of Major League Baseball, but I think maybe their top-ranked pitching prospect, Miguel Olola, who ranks number 3 in their system on Baseball America, could be used to land someone pretty solid, but he is getting pretty close to Major League ready, having a great year down in the minors, so I think the Astros would rather hang on to him. So maybe you could look at a deal with, say, their number 9 prospect, AJ Bluebaugh, maybe their number 11, Bryce Mayer, or their number 13, Anderson Brito. Now, do I think the A's are going to move Mason Miller? Probably not, but would he bring back a big package? Absolutely. Now, the A's, they've really built up a lot of good bats in their lineup with Brent Rooker, Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz is absolutely going off this year, Lawrence Butler, and Tyler Soderstrom, but I think they need to shore up the pitching within the organization, and I know trading a good arm like Mason Miller might seem counterintuitive, but he has a lot of control left, and he's very good, so he's going to have a lot of value that could help bring back a very nice package, including some young starting pitching from a team looking for a closer. And another thing with Mason Miller is if a team were to acquire him, maybe they could convert him into a starter next year. Now, of course, there's plenty of an argument to hang on to Mason Miller, so another name to keep an eye out for is Luis Severino. He has voiced his displeasure pitching in Sacramento, and with the A's out of it, along with teams looking for pitching, I could see a team taking on his contract. The Blue Jays are looking great right now, and they're looking like prime buyers at the deadline. Now, I don't see them moving away from one of their top prospects, Arjun Nimmala or Trey Savage, but someone like Alan Roden, I think, could be expendable. He hasn't been able to crack a full-time role in a corner outfield spot for the Blue Jays this year, but he's put up close to a 900 OPS at AAA, very good hitter overall, and I could see teams being very interested in his high upside bat. On to the Braves, and I got to go with Sean Murphy. Now, this season has turned into an absolute dud for the Braves, but I don't think they're going to have this big old massive fire sale. I could see them moving on from guys like Marcell Ozuna, who has an expiring contract, but I could also see them looking to move Sean Murphy. Now, their top catching prospect, Drake Baldwin, has broken out this year, so the Braves could go with him long term, and they could move Murphy now while he's in the middle of his contract to help bring back some young talent to help them retool for next year. At one point, it looked like the Brewers had no one for the rotation, but after trading for Quinn Priester and calling up their top pitching prospect, Jacob Missorowski, to go along with Freddie Peralta, all of a sudden, they have a lot of good starting pitching. And don't forget, Brandon Woodruff, he just came back recently. Nestor Cortez is on his way back soon, and Jose Quintana's been pretty solid for them. But I do think they need to go get a bat, though, since they only rank 14th in WRC Plus and 25th in home runs. Sounds like Eugenio Suarez or Ryan O'Hearn would be a perfect fit for them, and with the D-backs and the Orioles needing more pitching within their organizations, I think the number 7 prospect, Bishop Letson, who's 6'4", having a solid year down in the minor leagues at high A right now, could be a really nice trade chip here since he is still pretty far away, but has a lot of upside. Now, when it comes to other trade possibilities, I could see Jefferson Cuero, who's a solid catching prospect for them, number 5 in their system, but they got William Contreras in the fold for the next few years here. So I wonder if maybe the Brewers could dangle him too. On to the Cardinals, and I got to go with Ryan Helsley here. Now, the Cardinals were looking very good there for a little while, but they're hovering around 500 now, and they're outside of the wild card picture. So to me, I think Ryan Helsley would be a great trade piece here. Teams are always looking for bullpen help, and if the Cardinals still wanted to try and compete down the stretch, they could go with a couple other guys, say Steven Matz or Phil Maton in the closer role. And with Helsley, he would definitely bring back some good value, a guy that can go to the back end of any team's bullpen out there, especially a team that could use more velo, more swing and miss, like the Tigers, the Phillies, or even the Giants. On to the Cubs, and I would say either Owen Casey or Kevin Alcantara. Now, the Cubs are looking great this year, but after losing Justin Steele, I do think they need to make a move for the pitching staff, either with the rotation or the bullpen. Now, I could see either Casey or Alcantara. Casey, as of right now, is number 2 in their system on Baseball America, and Alcantara is number 4. Now, with Casey, he's hitting very well in the minor leagues this year, getting closer to Major League ready, has very good power upside, while Alcantara is more of an all-around player. He's going to give you a pretty solid hit tool, some pop, good speed, good defense in the outfield as well. Now, the question is, who would you rather keep? Well, to me, I think I would rather hang on to Owen Casey. The batted ball profile is just a lot better than Alcantara. Again, power upside with the bat, and he could take over in right field if Kyle Tucker ends up leaving in the offseason. Now, if they end up re-signing Tucker long-term, then you can just figure it out then. But in the meantime, Alcantara, who does a lot of things well, I think would intrigue a lot of teams out there, but I could also see teams pushing for Owen Casey. So I think you could go either direction. We'll see what the Cubs end up doing, but teams like the Marlins, they really want bats for Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera, or maybe the Pirates, they're looking for bats as well for, say, Mitch Keller, or maybe even the Guardians, who could use more offensive upside in their organization. Maybe you could do a deal for Emmanuel Clase. I think either Casey or Alcantara could make a lot of sense. After the Diamondbacks announced they were sellers, they made their first big trade, moving Josh Naylor to the Mariners for a couple of pitching prospects. So all eyes are going to be turning to Eugenio Suarez here. He's having a great season, hitting 36 home runs so far with a 149 WRC plus. And I think this guy is going to bring back a very nice package, mainly because of the market alone. Yes, very good numbers, but you're going to be seeing teams lining up out the door to try to get this guy to put in the middle of their lineup. The D-backs could use more pitching within the organization and teams that could send that back. I mentioned the Brewers earlier. They have someone like Bishop Letson they could send back, and maybe the Detroit Tigers. They got some pitching prospects as well, like the number 7 prospect Jaden Ham or the number 11 prospect Troy Melton. For the Dodgers, I got to go with Dalton Rushing. Now, the Dodgers are always busy at the deadline, and right now, their top prospect, Dalton Rushing, also number 20 on Baseball America's top 100 prospects, is blocked by Will Smith, who's on a long-term contract. Freddie Freeman, he's at first base for the next couple of years until his contract is over. And I guess maybe you could play him out in left field, but since he has a ton of value, he could bring back something very substantial. On to the Dodgers' rivals, the Giants, and I'll go with Carson Whisenhunt. He's the number 3 prospect in their system right now, second-round pick for the Giants a few years ago, and while he has shown promise at times, he hasn't been able to fully put it together despite having good velo and a 70-grade changeup. Now, he's getting closer to Rule 5 eligibility, so the Giants, they're going to have to make a decision here whether or not to put him on the 40-man roster. Instead, perhaps they could entice some teams out there that want to get some more pitching for their organization, maybe the Orioles for Ryan O'Hearn. For the Guardians, I got to go with Emmanuel Clase. Sure, his numbers are up a bit from last year, but they're still very good with a 2.25 FIP, 23 saves, still one of the best closers in all of baseball. But with Clase, he's getting close to the end of a 5-year contract. He has a couple of club options for 2027 and 28, so he's going to be getting a raise here over the next few years. So I say for the Guardians, why not move him now while his value is very high and teams are looking for bullpen help to help bring back a high upside bat for the organization, something I think they could use. Maybe Kevin Alcantara with the Cubs, who I mentioned earlier, maybe some kind of a package there. Maybe you can go to the Dodgers. They've been connected with Clase for a while now in different trade rumors. Maybe you can do something for Dalton Rushing. He can be an everyday player in Cleveland. Maybe the Phillies, they could use some more bullpen help. They got guys like Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford. Maybe you could do some kind of a package there. Whatever it is, Clase has very good value, and I think you can bring back a lot. For the Mariners, I got Harry Ford. Cal Raleigh isn't going anywhere anytime soon, but Ford is hitting well down at AAA, so I say the Mariners take advantage here. They just got Josh Naylor, but why stop there? Maybe go get someone for third base, like a reunion with Eugenio Suarez, or maybe you could turn to the Twins, who could use some more catching depth within the organization. Maybe the Mariners could do a deal for either Yohan Duran or Griffin Jax to help beef up the bullpen. For the Marlins, I got Edward Cabrera. Now, I still think the Marlins could move Sandy Alcantara, but his value has really plummeted this year. He's having a tough year, but I can still see teams out there looking at the upside of Alcantara and taking a chance on him, maybe work with him this offseason to get him back on track for 2026. But as of right now, Cabrera definitely has the higher value. He's having the best year of his career so far. He's healthy. This guy's dealt with a lot of health issues over the last few years, but he's looking solid this year. 17 starts, ERA at a 3.48, FIP at a 3.56, has good velo, good stuff, and teams out there would love to get a cost-controlled arm. Now, I can see the Cubs or the Dodgers doing something because they have good farm systems and they do need some more pitching. Maybe AJ Preller could figure something out in San Diego. The Cardinals, they're going through some turnover in the front office. I could see them liking an arm like Edward Cabrera over the next few years. Whatever it is, I think Cabrera could definitely bring back a nice package, but I'm still going to think Sandy could get moved too. On to the Mets, and I got Mark Vientos. He had a breakout season last year with an 837 OPS, but this year it's under a 700. Now, there's definitely still upside with Vientos because of the breakout year that he had last year, and he's still showing some good batted ball data in some spots, so perhaps he could be used as part of a package to help land some pitching for the Mets, which they could use. Now, the Pirates, they could use more bats. Maybe they could do something here with Mitch Keller, but I could see teams being a bit on Vientos because of the down year, so maybe the Mets could dangle another young bat like Brett Beatty, who is looking improved this year, or Ronnie Mauricio, who has a good amount of upside. For the Nationals, I'm going to go with Mackenzie Gore. Now, the Nats definitely won the Juan Soto trade, but this is a good example of the parts being better than the sum, with Gore, James Wood, and CJ Abrams all having good years, but the Nationals are completely out of it. Now, if they wanted to cash in and get back a monster package, then Gore could definitely do that for you. He still has a couple of years of control here. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and maybe the Nationals could look to sign James Wood and CJ Abrams to long-term deals. Now, with Gore, do I expect him to get moved? Probably not. I think he's going to be way too expensive, but maybe some teams with some good farm systems could pony up for a deal. You got the Tigers, the Dodgers, the Cubs, maybe the Red Sox, but in the end, I don't think he's going to end up getting moved. Now, someone more realistic that could get moved would be Kyle Finnegan. Has been struggling a little bit as of late, but the FIP is still looking good at a 3.74, and he's got 19 saves. The Orioles have a lot of guys they could move, but Ryan O'Hearn is definitely the best of the bunch. He's having a career year with over an 800 OPS going into free agency, and multiple teams out there are looking for more pop, like the Red Sox, the Brewers, Giants, Rangers, Astros, Reds. There's definitely going to be a good market here for Ryan O'Hearn. Now, he is just going to be a rental, but because he is having a good year and teams out there are looking to improve their lineup, I think he's going to get back a pretty solid return. For the Padres, I go with Dylan Cease. Now, just because the Padres would be trading away one of their better arms doesn't mean they'd be waving the white flag. Now, with Cease, the ERA doesn't look great with a 4.59, but the metrics look a lot better. FIP at a 3.58, still has over 11 strikeouts per nine, still getting a ton of swing and miss. So I think he could be a solid change of scenery candidate before he goes into free agency. And since I don't expect the Padres to keep him around long term, I say take advantage of his value while you can. They just got Darvish back. Nick Pavetta's been solid. Michael King should be back soon. So if the Padres feel comfortable with that in the postseason, maybe they could use Cease here to bring back a much-needed bat. Maybe some kind of a deal with the Red Sox for Jarren Duran, or maybe one of the younger position players I mentioned earlier with the Mets. No, I don't think the Phillies are going to be trading Andrew Painter, and I could honestly see them hanging on to both Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford. All three of them are top 50 prospects, and with the Phillies not getting any younger, I could see them wanting to keep these guys in the fold, and they are getting closer to Major League ready. And shoot, even Eduardo Tate, the number 3 prospect in their system, I could see them wanting to hang on to him too. JT Realmuto, he's getting closer to free agency. He's almost 35 years old. I think the Phillies are going to want to hang on to the top guys in their farm, but I could see someone like Mick Abel here. Now, Mick Abel, they drafted in the first round back in 2020, had a lot of ups and downs in the minor leagues before this year, wasn't able to fully put it together, but this year, down in the minor leagues, he's looked really good. He actually got called up to the Phillies not too long ago, but he is a major league ready arm that they could use in a deal. Say, maybe go to the Angels for Taylor Ward. Not only could the Phillies use a right-handed bat, but they could also bolster the bullpen a little bit more, even after signing David Robertson. So maybe you could do some kind of a deal with the Twins for Yohan Duran, Griffin Jacks, maybe something with the Guardians for Emmanuel Clase. Whatever it is, I think Abel could lead the package. On to the Pirates, and I wish I could say Paul Skeens here, but since they're not going to move him, I'll go with Mitch Keller. Now, even though he's on a 5-year contract, it is a pretty team-friendly deal, and since he's putting up good numbers, ERA at a 3.53, FIP at a 3.42, he's going to have good surplus value. Now, the Pirates, I've mentioned this already in this video, they need more bats in the organization. They already have a good amount of young pitching with Skeens, Mike Burrows, one of the top pitching prospects in the game, Bubba Chandler, he's getting closer to Major League ready, and and Jared Jones should be back from Tommy John next year. And along with that, they have a ton of other pitching prospects like Braxton Ashcraft, Hunter Barco, and Thomas Harrington, but they only have one impact position player prospect in Connor Griffin, but he's still at A-ball, and Tamar Johnson hasn't fully been able to turn into a complete hitter despite having a good on base. So I think Keller, he could get moved. On to the Rangers, and they have been playing well lately, but I think they could go a couple of different ways here to add someone for the stretch run. Now, since they've been over the luxury tax for a couple of years, going over a third straight year would induce more penalties, which I'm not sure if they would want to do. Now, they have about $5 million in space to work with right now, so if they wanted to add a bat that's under contract like Marcell Ozuna, one idea would be to try and move a contract elsewhere like Adolis Garcia, or maybe you could do some kind of a swap there, I'm not sure. Or maybe they could move John Gray, who did recently come back from a fractured forearm. But if they wanted to go the traditional route of adding someone, I could see a few guys here. Maybe the number 9 prospect Cole Drake, who is pitching well right now. He's getting closer to Major League ready, so I don't know if the Rangers would want to part with him. If not him, maybe someone a bit further away. You got their number 11 prospect, David Davalillo. That is a tough one to pronounce, but he's having a good year down in the minor leagues, ranked number 11 as of right now. Or maybe someone like Mitch Bratt, lefty pitching prospect, ranked at number 14. On to the Rays, and I'll go with Taj Bradley. Now, I know they just sent him back down to AAA after a bad start against the White Sox. There's still obviously a lot of talent here. It actually kind of makes me wonder if maybe they moved him to AAA to try to protect his trade value a little bit. I don't know. But with the Rays, you know the deal. They're always keeping one eye on the present and one eye on the future. And with Shane McClanahan coming back soon, maybe someone like Bradley or even Shane Baz, 2 young pitchers with a lot of upside, could be used to bring back a very nice package to Tampa. Now, both these guys would be very expensive, but teams with good farms that are looking for starting pitching, I think could be a nice fit. Maybe the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Tigers, or maybe even the Cardinals. Now, of course, teams may not want to pay up for expensive, cost-controlled pitching, so I could see the Rays moving either Yandy Diaz or Brandon Lau, solid veterans with a bit of control left. The Red Sox are right in the thick of things in the wild card race, but they could really use some tweaks on the roster, like a number 2 behind Garrett Crochet, an upgrade at first base, and another high-leverage arm for the back end of the bullpen. Now, to try and address those areas, there's a few ways they could go about this. As of right now, they got 5 outfielders looking for playing time. You got Jarren Duran, Wilyer Abreu, Cedar Rafaela, Roman Anthony, and Masataka Yoshida. And with 3 outfield spots and 1 spot for DH, I could see them moving one of them. Now, the 2 that I think would be the most likely to be moved would be Duran or Abreu, since they both have good value because they're both good players and they have a lot of club control. While on the other hand, Roman Anthony's the future, Rafaela's on a long-term contract and one of the best defensive players in the game while taking a big step forward with the bat this year, and Yoshida's contract is going to be pretty tough to move. However, Alex Cora has been able to make this rotation work so far, and with Marcelo Meyer recently going down with a wrist injury, it might make a lot of sense to hang on to all of them, with Cedar Rafaela playing a bit more second base. Now, the next outfielder up would be the password Yostinson Garcia, number 7 in their system. He's a top 100 prospect overall down at AAA right now, having a great year down in the minor leagues, but he's blocked. Even if he ended up moving one of these outfielders, he'd still be blocked. And I would also throw James Tibbs into this category. He was a first-round pick in last year's draft, and he was sent back to the Red Sox in the Rafael Devers trade. I'm also looking at Franklin Arias here. Very good infield prospect, top 100 prospect right now, but they already have so many infielders within the organization. Marcelo Meyer is going to be the long-term shortstop. You got Christian Campbell there, so I wonder if Arias could be up for grabs too. Now, I'm also going to add here that the Red Sox did just take 16 pitchers in the draft this year, including Tyson Witherspoon with their first pick, Marcus Phillips with their second pick, and Anthony Ianson with their third pick. So I wonder if someone like Brandon Clark could be expendable, a high upside lefty that's having a great year down in the minor leagues right now in high A. So I wonder if some kind of a package with him could be had. On to the Reds, and I think right-hander Chase Petty could be expendable. Now, the Reds have a ton of young pitching already at the major league level, and Petty, the number 5 prospect in their system right now, and number 98 overall on MLB Pipeline, could be an attractive piece to land a bat somewhere. Say, someone like Eugenio Suarez on the Diamondbacks. Maybe your reunion could be in store. Noelvi Marte, he can play in the outfield and do some DH duties. Or maybe Taylor Ward on the Angels, who could play left field, while Gavin Lux can move around. Now, for the Rockies, they don't ever really make moves at the deadline, but maybe this year could be different, and they could deal someone like Jake Bird, who's been a solid arm for them this year in the bullpen, has a 3.13 on the FIP, thanks to over 10 strikeouts per nine, still has a few years of control. I could see a lot of teams out there liking that. The Royals are starting to fall out of the mix, so it could be a good time to move on from Seth Lugo, who has a player option for next year, but I don't think he's going to exercise that. Now, like I've said a million times, teams are always looking for pitching at the deadline, and Lugo is a solid veteran arm that can help a contender down the stretch and in the postseason. On to the Tigers, and I'll go with Jace Young. Now, the Tigers are World Series contenders this year, so they're going to be looking to make some moves. And one guy that hasn't fully been able to find his way at the major league level, but still has good potential, is Jace Young. Now, sure, maybe they can give him a full-time shot next year, but his home defensively is still a question mark. And with the Tigers' top prospect, shortstop Kevin McGonigal, getting closer to major league ready, perhaps Young here could be expendable. For the Twins, I got to say Joe Ryan. Now, the Twins aren't looking good, and there's an argument that they should go into a bit of a retool to set them up for the next few years. And with Joe Ryan, he's having a great season this year, still has a couple more years of control after this season, so his value is never going to be higher. And the Twins, they don't usually do these big contract extensions, so I think there's a good argument into using him to bring back a massive package that could help Minnesota over the next few years. However, I also do see the argument in keeping him a little bit longer to help them compete for next year. So if that's the case, I mean, you got to look at Yohan Duran, one of the best closers in baseball this year. Griffin Jax, he's racking up the strikeouts in a setup role. Teams would love to add one of these guys, and they both have very good value because they're very good and they have multiple years of control left, so the Twins could still get back some good talent for these guys. The plan for the White Sox at this deadline was to finally cash in on Luis Robert, but he's having a down year. Sure, he's looking healthy for the first time in a while, has 26 stolen bases while playing good defense out in center field, but only has a 77 WRC+. He has been heating up lately, though, so maybe a team looks past the bad start and tries to cash in on the upside. Say the Padres, they could use someone out in left field. The Phillies, they could use a right-handed bat. But at this point, I just wonder how much the White Sox could actually get for him, so I could see them just hanging on to him, exercising his club option for next year, and just trying to move him either this offseason or next year's deadline. Now, another guy that could be an option here is Adrian Hauser. I feel like this guy is completely flying under the radar for the White Sox. 10 starts, ERA at a 1.89, FIP at a 3.01. So yeah, if a team is looking for an arm down the stretch, I could see them getting a call on Hauser. And last but not least, for the Yankees, I got to go with their number 2 prospect, righty Cam Schlittler. Now, I could see a lot of people saying Spencer Jones here, but to me, with the monster year he's having down at AAA, hitting over 300 with an OPS over 1,000 with 26 home runs, and with Trent Grisham and maybe Cody Bellinger hitting free agency soon, I think the Yankees should hang on to Spencer Jones despite the strikeout issues he has. Now, to me, I think the only way you trade Jones is if you use him in a package to get back a cost-controlled player like Joe Ryan on the Twins, but if not that, I think it's best to hang on to him. Now, for Schlittler, I could definitely see teams being interested in him. He's already with the Yankees right now. He has a 2.82 ERA and over 11 strikeouts per nine down in the minor leagues this year, and he's looked all right in his first couple of starts for the Yankees so far. So I think the Yankees could definitely use him as part of a package to land a big piece out there, and if not him, maybe they can go with Carlos LaGrange, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, Ben Hess. The Yankees, they got some decent pitching prospects they could deal away and help get back something to help them compete for a World Series this year. But everybody, that's all I got for this video. Let me know who you think are the biggest trade chips down below in the comments. But everyone, if you can, on the way out, hit the like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.